Hey, everybody. Welcome to Run, Try, Bike and the Everyday Athlete Podcast Network show, Caffeinated Coaching with Lori Hauck. I am not Lori Hauck, obviously. My name is Jason Bahamundi, and I am the founder of Run, Try, Bike. Lori Hauck is the host of Caffeinated Coaching, and we're going to bring her on to learn more about her so that as you listen to her shows going forward, you'll know more about her and why she's interested in the guests that she has, as well as finding out more about her. So without further ado, let's bring Lori to her own show. Hey, Lori, how are you?
I am excellent. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Well, I would be better if these microphones would somehow figure out how to just stay up the whole time.
That sounds like a you problem.
It's a big me problem. So let's jump right. Okay, next. We want to know more about you, and we want to know more about why caffeinated coaching. By the way, do you have your caffeinated beverage with you?
I do. I have a almond milk.
Fantastic. Black coffee. I already finished my hazelnut latte with almond milk. So let's talk about you. Let's talk about how you got started in endurance sports and why you keep doing it. So I know that you ran when you were a child, and that has led to a lifetime of running. Why did you get started as a kid, and why do you continue to do it today?
My mother got me started at age 6 in first grade in cross country, and I carried that throughout on and off some track and cross country into high school, and then stopped for a while. And as a busy professional, right out of college, I realized that, you know what? Actually, maybe in college, but I realized that we all need some movement and exercise to help our brains work, to help our bodies stay healthy. So it's an important sport to me because it's accessible. The whole adage of you just have to put some shoes on and run isn't entirely true, but it is true. So I can argue that all day. You can just put shoes on and go run. But if you are looking for, maybe distance running or performance, you might want some of the other things you can add to running.
And that's when the sport starts to get expensive. We try to tout these sports as being inexpensive, but next thing you know, you've got a rotation of 8 pairs of shoes, all the gear, all the nutrition, all the hydration, and you're like, where did my paycheck go?
If you've ever seen a TV show that shows he was a runner, or she was a runner and now she's disappeared, they have like 2 pairs of shoes, and I'm like, wrong. No runner has like only 2 pairs of shoes. So they don't do their background checking very well, I guess.
Yeah, they should contact Run Try Bike so we can get them better prepared. You mentioned being a busy professional as a young adult. What is it that your profession is in?
I am an accountant, a CPA by trade. However, I have kind of stepped out of that, and I am a professor of accounting. Not a full professor yet. There's a lot of ranks. So everybody listening, if you are a professor, I understand all the ranks. I just didn't think everyone else needed to know that. So I have kind of moved into academia, and I spend a lot of time studying the media and why we choose different careers and human behavior.
Fascinating. So do you know why most people, I shouldn't say most, do you know why people actually choose to put pineapple on pizza then? Why do they do this?
That's an excellent question. I think that they if we're talking about all of your arguments about it, they like a lot of acid on acid. Now, if we want to have a good argument about pineapple on things like pizza, I'm going to say white sauce is good with pineapple. I do not eat tomato sauce, which is nasty, so we can argue that all day long. Other people like tomato sauce on pizza, and that's gross to me. But pineapple is fine on white sauce.
Okay, so pineapple on pizza with white sauce is a thumbs up. Pineapple on pizza is a red sauce, and red sauce in general is a thumbs down, yes, regardless. So,
absolutely.
What's a favorite food of yours?
Food or type of food? I guess
type of food.
I am a big taco eater. And
okay, hard shell or soft shell? Which one are you getting wrong?
Hard shell all the way. I don't want to hear from Hispanics, so hard shells are not a thing. My
Yeah,
bestie be Mexican, and all I hear is taco. So,
no, it's like hard shells are pointless. You might as well just buy nachos.
so I just skip straight to the nachos.
There you go.
And because honestly, if you have a hard shell taco, it's probably going to turn into nachos anyway. So I
All right,
just skip
so
right to the nachos.
you walk into the restaurant, you order nachos. What are the nacho toppings that are a must have for you?
Cheese, obviously. We could go vegan cheese too. It's depending on the type, a little weird, but it can be good. Let's see. Uh, I also like beans and sour cream and guacamole, but keep those nasty tomatoes out of your guacamole. That's not okay either. I don't know what other toppings. Jalapenos are good and
Olives.
on a limited basis. Um, I don't know. I mean, if you want to add
Olives.
meat, chicken, olives are different. Like you don't see them at restaurants, but at home I put them on. So, I mean, go crazy. Put whatever you want on your nachos. Put pineapple on them. I don't care. I think it would probably maybe be good.
As you know, I have a total of 2 songs on my phone, both by the Pet Shop Boys. I don't know why this makes people laugh. I just like we also went what a year without a radio in the car, so clearly music is not a thing for me. But for you, I know you love music. What do you prefer to listen to?
I listen to a lot of pop and top 40. I am not anti anything, any type of music. I'm not much of a country listener. I believe that if you're depressed, it makes you more depressed. Um, but there's some good country out there. Yeah, I'm usually a pop top 40 listener though.
So let's get into the show. You decided to start caffeinated coaching on the Everyday Athlete Podcast Network, and why was this something that you wanted to do? What are you hoping to get across through your podcast?
So I started caffeinated coaching. I'm a little bit of a person who collects education. I joke with some of my other doctorate friends about that. We seem to, a lot of us, be collectors of education. So I have a lot of education, and studying human behavior makes me want to discuss human behavior with other people that have different specialties than me. I'm also a certified ultra running coach and a certified personal trainer. And so I have a vast knowledge from academia to, numbers stuff to human behavior. But I don't, I'm not a dietitian. So you'll see episodes from dietitians. We had the episode with Holly, who's been swimming a long time. I've been swimming since I was a kid as well, but not in a organized fashion, I guess you could say. I was never a swim meet type of kid. So I just hope to start this to talk just in different general areas about things to help people with their lives. Anywhere from business coaching, I've done that and owned a business in it, to, life coaching, training, running, triathlon.
Yeah, for those of you that don't know Lori, she is obviously a college graduate, but she also has her MBA. As she mentioned earlier, she is a CPA, and she's currently working on her DBA, as she mentioned a little bit earlier. So the vast knowledge that she has is something that you can lean into during her show. Listen to the guests, listen to her chat with her guests about different aspects of life. It's not just going to be 100% about swimming, cycling, and running. There may be entrepreneurs that come on who want to talk about how they built their business and different ideas and concepts, how to leverage media in different formats and different ways to get their product and or service out to the public more, as well as, like she mentioned, life coaching, which is intriguing to me, right? Like, do you think that there is a connection between all of these things? Let's just say entrepreneurialism, endurance sports, and life, right? Because if you have those two things, that's basically going to consume your entire life.
So, entrepreneurship. I'm sorry, I'm being distracted by a phone ringing. Was I listening to Jason? That is an excellent question. Am I
That's about
usually
right.
listening to Jason? Nah. Um, What was your question again? I'm sorry.
My
I spent
question
3
was,
hours on spreadsheet regression analysis this morning, so my brain is also a little bit messed
I
up.
think you just put me to sleep. What did you say? Regression analysis?
Yes, ANOVAs, that sort of thing. Yeah.
I think this is a moment for us to get some caffeine. Hold on. Because we
Okay.
need to wake up from regression analysis and phone calls in the background.
Let's double fist some drinks here.
My question was the connection between endurance sports and entrepreneurialism and how you can talk to athletes and entrepreneurs and work with them in terms of your background and credentials in coaching and academia.
Yes. So entrepreneurship and endurance sports, I feel, and I hope to do a research paper on this at some point. I feel that they go hand in hand a lot because you have to be self-motivated in endurance sports. After a while, the like slaps on the backs, the claps for you, they don't come, or they fade really quickly unless you continue to talk about a race you just finished or something. So you have to be self-motivated. You also have to be, and you have to be organized if you want to train well for something. The same things are true of entrepreneurship. You have to be self-motivated. No one's going to get you up in the morning to run your business or to think of a new product or take yourself in a new direction because what you're doing is not working. And you have to be organized as well. There's a lot of other facets that are going to be similar, but those, like, you have to know you can run something on your own for both entrepreneurship and endurance sports. And so with my long time experience in everything. So I got an MBA after having a CPA because I wanted to broaden my horizons of business and go in other directions than just accounting and numbers. And so I have done that. And my advice to other people, it has a broad spectrum to it of business, not only the numbers and the language of business, which is accounting, and how to run your business that way, but marketing. That's my doctorate is actually marketing, careers to people. So marketing, just analysis of business. I was a external CFO, what we call a fractional CFO, for a while, and for about a year, over maybe 2 years. And so that whole experience just brings a lot of it together for entrepreneurs, and especially my lifelong endurance sports brings it all together.
So the question I want to ask you is, because you have a depth of knowledge about all of these things, what is the thing that prevents us from getting started? Because I think once we get started, the ball starts to roll and we learn lessons through successes and failures. But what is it that prevents us from getting started to begin with, whether that's starting to run or starting a business?
I think that there are a few things. Imposter syndrome is a big thing that prevents people from getting started. And there are going to be people I know of who argue that imposter syndrome is not real. And then there's other people who argue we create it. We allow others to put it on us when we don't really have it. But imposter syndrome actually exists in psychological research. And so it's a real thing. And if you can't overcome the idea that I'm not good enough, I don't know enough yet, I need one more degree, I need one more certification, you're never going to get started. But to your point, once you get started, once you get that, like, you know what, I can do this, then you're going to realize, look, I can. And the big thing I like to remind people is that we're a lot of people out here just faking it. And they're doing what you don't think that you can do, but you probably have more knowledge and experience than they do.
I
But you just
mean,
don't believe in yourself yet.
you know me as well as anybody on this planet knows me. And you've seen this business get started to where it is today. And I can't, there's very few days where I'm not like, we're not good enough. This isn't good enough. This idea isn't good enough. So, how do we who have started and rolled the ball take on and kind of kick that imposter syndrome to the curb, even when we're in the midst of doing the thing that we were afraid to start?
So, to kind of control that imposter syndrome, it's self-talk. It really is self-talk. You can tell yourself. So a lot of people, if you listen to the swimming episode I did with Holly, and if you've seen my Instagram, I talked about being afraid all of a sudden of deep water. This wasn't a lifelong thing for me. And so self-talk is a big deal. If I continue to say, I can't do it, and I'm not going to be able to do it. Same thing with entrepreneurship. If you wake up every morning and you're like, my business isn't good enough, then it's kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy. But if you wake up every day and you go, you know what, I'm out here, I'm talking to the everyday athletes, I'm providing a good, platform and audience for advertisers. We love advertisers. We love our Blue 70s and our Topos and everybody, Catula. I wore Catula Gators for my first 100 miler for the first time I wore Gators, and they were amazing, by the way. So that's my own little push for them. I also swim with all the Blue 70 stuff. But if you wake up every morning and you remind yourself, like, I know all of this stuff. I've been working this stuff. I've been doing these things. You're going to help yourself move forward better than negative self-talk is ever going to help anyone. What does negative self-talk do for us at all? Nothing.
Nothing other than bury us in more negative self-talk, right?
Yeah. So let's, if you have to put stickies on your mirror to remind yourself in the morning, I'm awesome, like I can do this, then that's the way to go, whatever it takes. I would put stickies on my mirror if I didn't.
I thought you were just blurting out, I'm awesome. And I was like, where did that come from?
I mean, I am awesome, but whatever.
No lies detected on this show.
I am also humble. I don't take that to say I'm a very down-to-earth, humble person, but
The serious question, can you actually be humble when you just come right out and say, I'm humble? Does that work?
Yes. Because I'm speaking from what other people have said to me. This isn't a self-assessment. This is an assessment other people have given me. Why are you laughing at me, anti-pineapple man?
I'm just imagining an entire notebook full of testimonials from people, like your screen grabs of comments on social media. Hey, you're awesome.
So that's actually a thing that you're probably not realizing is advice that people give and get. And I did it. If you're ever, especially if you work in corporate America, if you get kudos from managers, CEOs, etc., put them in a folder in your email box. Like if you get email kudos, put them in a folder. And then when you're having a day like, I can't do this, go to that folder and look at like, oh, the CEO was very impressed with my work. My boss is very thankful I'm here. Like these are ways to overcome that negative self-talk too. Bet you didn't realize that, Jason.
I did not. One of the things that we've started to do is gather testimonials from our audience, the people that have shared their stories, the people that engage with us on social media. And when we're in sales calls, that is some of the stuff that we take out and present to potential advertisers is like, listen to what the audience is telling you, not just what we're telling you. And so it's kind of similar in that vein of what you're talking about with a manager or a boss. Like, for all intents and purposes, our advertisers are our managers and bosses, right? We have to perform for them in order for them to keep spending money with us. And so we have testimonials from our audience that do that as well. I'd like to move to a little bit of a lighter side of the conversation and find out from you, what is your favorite TV show? Since you talked about media and consumer behavior on why we choose professions, let's go to media. What's your favorite TV show?
Longest favorite would probably be Friends. Friends is like a hug that you can just turn on and be like, I love these people. It's like Friends. It's like having your own friends in a box. You know what they're going to be like. You expect it.
And they're at Central Perk drinking coffee. I mean, it's a perfect analogy for caffeinated coaching. Okay, that's the longest running one. Is there anything more recent?
So the one still running would probably be Grey's Anatomy. That it feels like they're coming to the end of their run, but I think there's been times throughout that people thought they were coming to their end of the run, so we'll see. But
I was going to say, hasn't it felt like they've been coming to the end of their run for like the last 10 seasons, and yet here they are, keep coming back.
They find a way.
It's amazing.
So I spent a lot of time studying also generational differences, and Gen Z is actually, that's one of their favorite shows still, even though it spans I just did a presentation on this last week. Even though it spans like Gen X and maybe even some boomers, it also spans all the way down into Gen Z's top 10 shows, and even the younger portion of Gen Z.
I wonder if that's because when they introduce new interns, those interns are those is that generation's peers, essentially,
Yep.
right?
Yeah, so they can relate to how they're feeling. They currently have a bisexual character, at least one. And so, they can relate to how they're relating out into the world. That's kind of how we also choose careers and choose just different life things, as media has a big impact on that.
All-time favorite movie, and why is it Army of One?
I was waiting for this question. So Army of One could be the worst movie ever made.
Could be?
No, that is not true. Open Water is literally the worst movie ever made. You're just like two heads bobbing in the ocean for 2 hours, like, hello, we're just out here waiting for a shark to eat us. That is the worst, possibly the worst movie.
This is exactly why I did not like that movie with Tom Hanks when he's stranded on the island. I can't even remember the name of it.
The Wilson movie, Castaway.
Castaway. Like, just get off the island, go swim. I don't care. Do something. I'm exhausted of you sitting on this island with a volleyball.
So you should watch Open Water tonight, because it will make you appreciate Castaway. At least he had a volleyball instead of just a head bobbing in the ocean waiting for a shark to eat it.
I get anxiety swimming in the open water during Ironman races. Will this movie help me overcome that anxiety, or will it just further exasperate it?
Probably just further exasperated as you watch the shark tail go around.
Not watching it, thanks.
I'm not going to swim in the ocean this weekend, no, that's for sure.
For those of you who don't know Army of One, it is quite possibly the absolute worst movie ever made. There is a literal Army of One. It's a woman who tries to save a town.
It's a woman.
Yeah, it's a strong woman. It's a great character storyline, but the acting is horrendous. The shooting is terrible. The storyline is horrendous. It's just bad all around.
So he picks on it to those who need the backstory, because we were picking A movies that started with A for each of us to choose. I didn't realize we were supposed to pick our favorite movies, and I was just tired. And I said, there's this movie on Amazon. It's called Army of One. Look, the intro looked interesting. So sat through, I don't know, hour and a half or 2 hours of this movie that is honestly not great.
Yeah, so my introductions for the movies were All the President's Men, Casablanca, Breakfast Club, and Army of One was the choice. And I was like, this is going to be a long alphabet game of movies if this is where we're starting.
It was pretty funny. But now you can sit through 2 hours of anything. That's the positive spin there. Put that on your sticky note on your mirror. I can sit through 2 hours of anything.
All jokes aside, what is your favorite movie?
Well, under anesthesia, once I said Shawshank Redemption, so I guess that's the truth of my subconscious. He does have an accountant. He was a crook, but he was an accountant, and he helped everybody in prison. I don't really think of things in favorites. There's not the best. This is the best. I like a lot of things, and like I said with music, I'll tell you what bores me though. I can name all the things I don't want to watch. What's that movie with Friendo that won awards? Friendo. He just walks around Friendo. It's the worst movie too, I guess. So Open Water and Army of One and whatever movie that was, it was terrible.
We've got some comments coming in over on Instagram. Badwater06 says, I like coffee, but beer is better. The worst movie ever was Hook. Hard to argue with that, Badwater06. And then they also wrote, can you sit through 43 minutes of my math class? I guess that's a test of endurance, if you can do that. And then Wolf Runner adds, where does The Accountant rank, Lori?
Oh, The Accountant. Everybody brings that up because I try to point out in my presentations cool accountants versus non-cool accountants, and how I'm trying to change the image of accounting. So everybody's like, but we have The Accountant. He was cool. He was an accountant for 10 minutes, maybe.
He's a murderer.
And then he was an assassin.
Right.
So, does he really count as, and he was a boring accountant while he was an accountant. He was just in this room doing auditing on a whiteboard, and you're like, yeah, that sounds like fun. Let me go kill people, I guess. So I know all of the male accountants especially are very excited that they're making it 2. Number 2, The Accountant.
Are they really?
Yes, Ben Affleck is working on The Accountant 2. I have said I would head down to Hollywood and try to get cast in it. See if we can put some cool factor on this one. But if we had to pick an accountant movie, that's probably the best one.
How can we get Evan R. Lawson, CFO of HankMed, onto The Accountant 2 to add some levity to the show?
So if you've never seen the show Royal Pains, they just released it. It's from like 2009. They just released it on Netflix. Jason is in love with Evan R. Lawson, CPA, CFO of HankMed. And that's how he says it every time he says it. And I think he is a good representation of an accountant. He's still, you're boring, a little bit weird.
No, he's not boring. The dude is a salesman. He's out there selling, and he's trying to figure out the best ways to make money so that HankMed doesn't go under, which is what an accountant should be doing.
He loves partying in the Hamptons and,
yes,
the
networking.
good life. So I guess he's not that boring. But
he's networking in the Hamptons.
He's
not
a little bit nerdy still. Wearing like weird plaid shorts and stuff, like board shorts.
He's my guy. He's better than what's the dude from Will Smith's movie?
Albert Brenneman.
Albert Brenneman, yes.
I can do the Albert Brenneman dance. I have done it on stages.
We're going to need a reel for that so that we can put it on our TikTok channel.
So that's going to be Ohm's little tidbit he puts in the reel. I can see it now. He's like, I'm going to go to whatever minute it is right now. And
10:56 Ohm.
Here, I'll do it again for you, Ohm. If anybody doesn't know me, I am completely joking most of my life. Like, I don't know. I don't have too many serious bones.
It's the trauma talking.
It is. And when people say, you're really funny, Lori, I'm like, thanks. It's the trauma.
Yes. Look, anybody who is breathing right now has had trauma in your life, and it's okay. Lean into it. Be vulnerable. Open up yourself to conversation. You never know who you might attract. I've told my story on fireside chat shows, on other podcasts. I've had my druthers with alcohol. I've had my druthers with disordered eating. I've been divorced twice. I've moved across the country from New York to LA and all the places in between, right? I've been through some shit. So, lean into it, tell stories, have fun with it. We only get one shot at this life, man. So let's do it. So Lori,
okay.
Go ahead.
I
was going to ask, what kind of guests can we expect for you to have on this show?
Well, I'm hoping the next episode, possibly a dietitian. That was a popular one when I asked the question on my Instagram, like, what would you like? People said, like food. People love to talk about food, first of all. But then on top of that, fueling for endurance sports events is big. And, how does caffeine fit into that? It's very important to me. I don't give up caffeine. I'm sorry. I have in the past. It's just not happening again. I see no reason to. You can live your best life with caffeine. So just coaches. I'll probably have a life coach, a certified life coach on at some point so we can, I have people in mind. I could shout out their names, but they probably don't know for sure yet that I have them in mind. So maybe we don't do that. I'll probably have a triathlon coach, maybe another very many, years of experienced running coach as well. Because while I'm certified, I do not coach people on a regular basis for running or triathlon or anything because I'm so busy with everything else. I would love to at some point, but it just hasn't been a thing. So I plan to have that sort of thing, kind of a rotating list of guests. I might do some shows alone where we just talk about something. Like right now, I would like to talk about this because it came up to Waddell Running Lady, who we met at Across the Years in Phoenix. And it was mentioned to her the other day in what she deemed as a non-positive manner that she takes the safe route in ultras and picks races that are the safe races. I think that is bull. I don't think that people know what you're going through. I'm a big advocate also for disabilities and disabilities you can't see, because you're looking at me right now. I look like anyone else. I have technically 2 disabilities because the ADA, I have really extreme food allergies, and the ADA deems that a disability if you have to carry an EpiPen. I have 4 EpiPens on me just in case. Just in case the first one doesn't work. But so I have that, and I also have something called axial spondylitis, or the more popular known name, ankylosing spondylitis. Don't ask Jason to say it; he always says it wrong. Um,
Ankylosing spondylitis. Nailed
good
it.
job this time. So I, you would say I pick safe ultras probably if the traditional ultra, I don't think there's a safe thing. Like, so you can choose mountain ultras, you can choose looped ultras, you can choose large loop, like, 20, 25-mile loops for a 100-mile race. Javelina is one of them. It's one of the most popular hundreds, I would say. It sells out in like a week or less. So you can choose doing races and ultras in so many different ways, but I don't believe that there's a safe one. I talked about this recently with Omen Jason. If I chose to do the Tahoe 200 because of my food allergies, I would have to carry my own food always with me, because some of those aid stations are 20 miles apart or 18 miles apart. And so, yeah, you've got to carry fuel probably yourself, but I can't eat aid station food. So that adds another level of difficulty for me that the average person doesn't have. So would you say because I choose to do a 10-mile loop instead, like where I get an aid station every 10 miles or every 5 miles, is that a safe ultra then? How are you going to up your difficulty to meet me at my difficulty level for Tahoe or something? So we're all different. And I told Michelle and others that I would mention, because I really just think that we need to stop judging each other on how we do things that make us happy. If running makes you happy and running 5Ks makes you happy, do it. No one's out here to say, well, that was an easy race, because if you run a 5K as fast as you can, there's nothing easy about that. Meanwhile, if you walk a 50K, it might kind of feel easy to some people. So everybody's different. Why can't we just stop judging?
I mean, that's the whole premise behind why we started this business, right? Our vision and mission is to prove that there is a spot at the starting line for everybody and every body. And the gatekeeping that we see in our sports is probably the most frustrating thing for me. It's my biggest pet peeve, right? This idea that this is easier than that. So I've run Western States, which has, I don't know, 12,000, 14,000 feet of climbing over 100 miles. And I've run Rocky Raccoon, which has about 6,500 feet of climbing over 100 miles. And one would say, well, Western States must be much harder because it's practically double the elevation gain. But the reality is you can run all of Rocky Raccoon, which now brings on a different type of hard. And so to compare the two, to me, is absurd. They're both hard. They're both 100 miles. They're both going to take, hours on end, maybe a full day, maybe 32 hours, 36 hours, whatever it is. They're hard. Like, they're just hard. And go enjoy the thing that you want to do that is your hard. Don't worry about Jane Smith in Joplin, Missouri. Sorry, Jane Smith, if you actually exist in Joplin, Missouri, says about it on Instagram or TikTok. Like, on it, pardon my French, but who gives a shit what Jane Smith in Joplin, Missouri has to say about your endeavor? Go do the thing that you want to do. I do want to bring a little bit of levity to this conversation, as Badwater06 has been commenting, and he said, can you do the Carlton? And I responded with maybe the Dougie or the Cabbage Patch and the Walking Man. Maybe that's something that the Running Man, not the Walking.
The Running Man. I could do the Cabbage Patch on camera. That's easy enough. But like, I'm not gonna get up and do the Running Man at this point, because I've been up since like way too early this morning, and I'm just
Way
not
too early this morning. So, is there anything you want to leave the audience with before we close out episode 2 of Meet Lori Hauck on Caffeinated Coaching?
If you have things that you would like to hear about on Caffeinated Coaching, like a specific topic, feel free to send me a message. I am open to inviting whomever to talk. And as I said, I'm very humble. And so I don't mind reaching out to people who we think might be unreachable or unattainable to say, hey, would you like to talk to me? Because, I mean, being humble, I wouldn't care if they said no. So I'm open to audience ideas. I love talking to people. So if you would like to talk, reach out to me. I don't know, anything that Anything you can think of? Do you need to rapid fire question me like we're on Food Fight Friday or
Yeah, you ready? So I've
okay?
got a Food Fight
Fireside.
Friday at the aid station coming up at 3 p.m. Pacific time with Adam Lee of Community Trail Running, where he's presenting me with food choices. So I've got plenty of food questions for you. So Oreos, when you decide to buy a package of Oreos, are you looking at the old school Oreo? Are you looking at the double stuff Oreo? Are you looking at the two things that I would call abominations, the thin, which is, a cracker, or the cakester, which is a ding dong?
Okay, the cakester's weird. I don't what that's just a weird thing. It's not a cookie anymore. And I'm not real picky about just the originals, although I did have a recent rant about stop putting chocolate in hummus. That's weird.
Yeah, why?
So my go-to Oreo is the gluten-free double stuff. But if you took away gluten-free, I'd still want the double stuff. Like if we didn't worry about that. The thin one, I mean, I don't care. It just seems like a waste of time if you want an Oreo. And I am very big on more frosting and less like cake or cookie. So I'm always probably going to go for the double stuff. But that's my preference. Just a normal. I try though. I'm a willing to try person, and so I've tried the strawberry shortcake and the pumpkin pie ones and all of those different ones. But just the gluten-free double stuff is probably my choice.
Okay, so we have gotten a bunch of different comments in here from Lightning Warriors. The question is, why do people think that way? Is it part of culture in American society? As I work with youth triathletes, and I believe Lightning Warriors is referring to the hard, what we talked about earlier in terms of comparison. And I'll read the question back to you so that you can answer. Why do people think that way in comparison? Is it part of culture and American society as they work with youth triathletes?
I do believe it's part of culture in American society because we, as capitalists, yay, end stage capitalism, as we as capitalists we're taught to reach for more and more and more and greater. And that's why we all have so much stuff too. Like, oh, buying one more thing is going to make me happy. Doing one more thing is going to make me happy. So if you've ever noticed when you talk to people, I get this a lot because Jason and I will be somewhere speaking to someone about endurance sports. And as soon as he says he's done 8 100 milers and 8 Ironman and Cocodona 250, they're just like, whoa. And if I say, oh, I've been running since I was 6 years old, and I've also done, up to 100 miler, I've done triathlons. I have not done a full Ironman because I just training a lot long on the bike by myself just never seemed that appealing to me. So I just haven't. But people then they turn their heads directly toward him and have a conversation just with him because we think that more longer is better. And so I think that's where people get this idea that running a hard 5K, and shout out to Holly, I mentioned her on Threads the other day too, like her Fast Girl Summer thing. I'm like, whoa, like that, like your chest is beating, your heart's beating, you can't breathe after some intervals and stuff, and your hard 5Ks, like that's hard too. So I think we're just trained to think more, longer is better. And it's not always the case.
Great answer. And I totally agree. And I think Lightning Warriors, the more we talk about these things, the less, whoa, I got excited there. The less opportunity there is for comparison. If we continue to just tell people, congratulations, that's an amazing accomplishment, and don't add a but to the end of it, the better it's going to be for everybody in the conversation. Some other comments, going back to the food for a moment. Trail Tortoise Running, our guy, Joe Harden, Beyond the Finish Line host, on YouTube has said chocolate and hummus. Can't believe that's a thing. Joe, neither can we. Badwater06 has said, please don't fiddle with the Oreo middle. And Stride Motivation has written, got to go double stuff since it's pretty much regular stuff at this point.
Right? They keep taking away stuff. The packaging gets bigger and the stuff gets smaller.
Before we answered the Lightning Warriors question, you mentioned cake. So here's my question to you. Is red velvet cake a real flavor, or is it just chocolate cake dressed up to go to the prom?
It's just chocolate cake, but I also have a caveat to that. It's
Oh,
also
boy.
traditionally made with beetles. The beetle bodies make it red. So this is my too much education speaking right now. And there's also a Sobe Life Water drink that they call natural, and they color it with the same beetles. I poured the entire thing out one time when I was being very vegan many years ago. My
Yummy.
food allergies have driven me to not as much veganism because sometimes I'm just starving.
If you're gonna choose cake, what's the flavor of cake you're going with?
Oh, that's hard because I don't really eat cake. I would go with probably. I just had one. Well, let's put it this way. I just took a cupcake that was like cappuccino, like mocha flavored. So I'm going to choose that. I only eat the frosting off of it and leave the cake behind, but the frosting is excellent.
And I mean, mocha on Caffeinated Coaching makes a whole lot of sense.
Yeah, if I'm going to have an option, it's probably, it's chocolate, vanilla, and then mocha. I'm going to choose the mocha option.
So when it comes to candy bars, which is the one that you're grabbing off the shelf first? Or candy, not just a bar?
Candy bar, I would say 100-gram bar.
The best.
100-gram bar.
The best. Anybody who says opposite is wrong.
There's no vile peanuts in that bar. And I like plain normal M&Ms or this goes to my whole mocha thing. The cold brew M&Ms are excellent if you want to go wild with M&Ms, but I like plain M&Ms because you can put like 5 of them in your hand, you warm them up a little bit. I have a whole story about they do melt in your hand, not in your mouth, from when I was 5 years old too, and held them an entire drive between Seattle and Eastern Washington. And I was like, ew, when I got there. But those were the only M&Ms I had, and I wanted to keep them forever. And I was like, oh, I have a big hand of M&Ms now. And so ever since I was like 5, I'm like, M&Ms do melt in your hand. But you could, when you put them in your mouth, you can break the candy shell off of them, which I'm a big fan of. So that's it, M&Ms.
You're heading to the grocery store for ice cream. What's the ice cream flavor you're taking out of the freezer box? Do people call it freezer box?
I don't think so. How old are you? Boomer.
Late stage Generation X, I guess.
Yeah, late stage Gen X. I think that's approaching boomerism. When I say boomer, I'm not picking on an age group. I pick on a mindset. If I say boomer, so let's put that out there. It's more of a mindset. I know there are older people who are very fun to be around and don't have all those same ideals as some others. So in the, what do you call it? Ice box?
Freezer box.
In the freezer box. I mean, big shocker. I'd probably pick a cappuccino ice cream, but also I like almond praline ice cream, like a praline mint chip. I'm not really picky about sugar. If you're getting this yet, like, if it's sugar, I'm probably gonna be okay eating it. Except that chocolate and hummus. Don't do that.
Yeah, scrap that shit. Like, seriously, people, stop trying to make things better. All you're doing is making them worse.
Would you pour chocolate syrup on garbanzo beans? Because that's essentially what you're doing.
Wolf Runner says cold brew M&Ms with 7 zeros. I think we've piqued their interest in the cold brew M&Ms. And Lightning Warriors and Haagen-Dazs Vanilla Swiss Almond. So basically, once we close this show, I am heading straight to the grocery store. I will be buying nothing from the vegetable aisle or from anywhere else and going straight to the freezer box, kids.
What was the comment on you had a food post on Instagram recently, and the comment was, those are all treats.
Yeah, my meals weren't big enough. I loved it.
That's all Jason eats is treats. If you saw his dinner last night, it was waffles with bananas, blueberries, and chocolate syrup. You couldn't even see the waffles in that picture, barely. It was just like a bunch of chocolate syrup and bananas and stuff. So meanwhile, I just want to point out that I was eating pineapple and asparagus and the fruits and vegetables world.
Yeah. Yesterday was a rough day for me, so I had to give myself a little treat.
And you should. And you should also put a sticky note up that says, I'm awesome.
Yeah. Well, this conversation has convinced me that I'm definitely better than I thought I was. And thank you guys all so much for tuning in for this special episode of Caffeinated Coaching, because the comments are coming in from YouTube, from Instagram. It's amazing. Thank you so much. If you want to be a guest on Caffeinated Coaching or any of our other shows on the Everyday Athlete Podcast Network, please let us know. Email us at info@runtrymag.com and we'll be sure to get to it. If you're just tuning in, This show will be posted on the Run Try Bike Instagram account here within an hour or two, and then the podcast will get dropped on Saturday after its live release, which will mean tomorrow. And the shows are now available on Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and Apple Podcast, as well as YouTube Music. When you go there and listen, please make sure to rate, review our shows, and subscribe so that you don't miss out on any of them. Lori, let's leave the audience with one last thought. Go right ahead.
I think that there is a spot at the starting line for everyone. If you are someone that has something like RA, AS, a disability, especially that isn't seen, find the right coach who can help you. If you can't find one and you're not sure who to go to, feel free to come to me. I have coached with a lot of people, and so I know different mindsets on coaching, but just know that you can do this. Whatever it is you're trying to do, you can do it, and there is a way through it.
Awesome. Thank you very much. When Lori is back on the hosting side of the show, make sure you tune in. We'll be marketing and telling you who the next guests are on all of our platforms. And you can find us at Run Try Mag on everywhere you get your social media, whether that's Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter/X, LinkedIn, and now, thanks to Lori, we're also on TikTok. So be sure to check us out wherever you
check us out on TikTok. I'm doing my best in my limited time to get things up there.
Awesome. Lori, thank you so much for your time. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Bye.